Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Holy Plot. This is James and Jacob, and we're going to be talking about the season 2 premiere of Loki, hopefully talking about the entire season. So we're going to get into it. We're going to get into our hopes and concerns for the season. So Jacob, why don't you start us off? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty good. I mean, I know people are big fans of Loki, so I will say if you like the first season, I think you're gonna like this. And I think it's too soon to say if this is gonna be better than the first season for those that didn't like it, which James and I are a part of that camp. We weren't the biggest fans of it, honestly. I
Yeah,
don't know if this is gonna like fix the show for me per se. I think it's definitely staying to its roots and trying to just keep going what it has, which I mean, I kind of understand. But I mean, yeah, it's Tom Hiddleston. It's gonna be entertaining. It's still well made. I'm very curious to see. I know that the main creative behind this show backed out, or is
I did not know that.
on to something else. Yeah, it's the main director, Kate Herron, I believe is her name, and she was kind of credited and attributed to the charm that the first season had. So I wonder if they're going to be able to keep that for the entire second season.
So I think the thing for me is that this episode actually fixes a lot of the things that didn't work in the first
Hmm.
season for me.
Yeah.
And the first thing there was that I wasn't a fan of how they kind of quickly divided up Loki and Mobius. I think that Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson have really good chemistry and really good comedic timing off each other. I thought that was a huge mistake to sideline Mobius for a lot of the first season. I was happy to see them back together right from the go in this one.
Yeah, and they had some of the best scenes in the episode, probably.
Yeah, and just we're getting right into spoilers. We did get confirmation that in the last scene of the finale, it's not like a rewritten or alternate Mobius. Actually, Loki is slipping through time at the end of the last season and the start of this one. I was relieved with that. I didn't want to start right from the beginning with Loki and Mobius getting to know each other again.
Yeah, it's a smart move, and I think I didn't really find that choice necessary, so I feel like they're kind of like either backing up on it or they're trying to make the most of it. I don't know. I'm glad that they're back at the core of the show there because I agree with you.
And we also have a new character who joins, which is Ke Huy Quan as Ouroboros or OB. What did you think of seeing him?
I mean, he's awesome, the actor. The character,
Absolutely.
yeah. I mean, he's super charismatic. Everybody loves him. Not much I really need to say about how much people enjoy him. So I think he's a pretty good fit for the show. I
Yeah,
think he allows the main two characters to kind of take themselves a little bit more seriously because you kind of have him to take up the comedic and levity of the show. And I feel like that was a problem with season one, where it's like the show had pretty good dramatic potential, but would kind of drop it on a whim sometimes. And I feel like having a character like him for them to bounce off of can kind of rectify that in a more organic way.
absolutely. He's delightful. I'm so happy for his comeback, and I think he fits the tone of the show very well.
Hmm.
One quick note is I looked it up. I did some hard-hitting holy plot research here.
Oh,
Or- Ouroboros is the name of the symbol of a snake eating its own tail, which can represent stuff like infinity or a never-ending cycle. Um, I think what that's going to
pretty
mean
cool, actually.
I think that's going to tie into this idea that there's been a never-ending cycle of the TVA agents getting their memory wiped.
Hmm.
We even, I think, get some hints of that here because Mobius and OB have these different accounts of when they've met and like different memories. So I think they could be setting up kind of a bit of a sad story on what's happened with this guy. You know, how long has he been alone down there? So solid starting cast, but I think there are definitely a couple concerns, maybe issues to talk about that could end up holding this show back, even though it feels like it's a strong start here.
I mean, I just feel like the show's pitfall is going to be it trying to be cog of the MCU machine. I think people liked the first season a lot because it was contained. It had a tight story. I mean, still had implications on the universe, but it wasn't preoccupied with it. And I think this season, stepping into like, multiverse setup and setting up Kang, I think it's going to kind of get a little suffocated by it, which is unfortunate. I think it could have kind of a Mandalorian season two, where it kind
Yeah,
of loses it forgets what made it so special in the first place for franchise building, which is probably my biggest concern. That kind of ties into my other concern, is just the stereotypical MCU 6-episode format. And I think those two things combined, it's definitely the biggest risk going into this, in my opinion.
Well, that was the big issue. I felt one of the big issues with the last season, and with a lot of these 6-episode seasons, is just as you feel like the story is getting somewhere, it's over, and now you got to wait.
Yeah, and I mean, that was the issue with Ahsoka too, and like many of the Star Wars shows. I think it's just a Disney Plus thing. And I know that they have a clear vision for what this is. I just hope it's more worried about itself than setting up other projects that, quite frankly, I just don't care for.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. It seems to be the trend, and I would hate to see this show doing a lot right and then get undercut by that repeating problem. We'll just have to see.
Yeah. I mean, unless you got anything else, that's kind of all I got. I think it's pretty solid. I think it's like a good 7 out of 10. I mean, I think that's probably what you would give it too, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm definitely curious how they're going to reintegrate Sylvie back into the show. I felt like she definitely took up a lot of focus in the last season, so I would like to see her enter the mix in a way that feels proportionate. We got a little tease on where things might go with her, and I'll admit it feels a little bit less one note than she did in the first season. So we'll just have to see. This is a better start to the season than I thought we'd get. I'd also give it a 7.
All right, cool. Well, thank you guys for listening to our video on Loki. If this is successful, we'll make reviews for all the episodes, and then we are also going to be reviewing Doom Patrol. So we got a lot of comic book goodness coming out. So thank you for tuning in. And James, unless you got anything, I'm good.
If that's it, thank you guys for listening. See you next time.